Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Patafi. Once again we are going to talk about Pakistan politics, but the important aspect of it is the National Assembly of Pakistan. Of course, National Assembly is there to make laws and to provide oversight as well on policy matters. But somehow for 8 months since the government and this assembly have come into existence, we haven't seen that kind of legislative business. When we talked to the government side, we were told that the opposition was not cooperating. And one aspect was clear. When they were talking about Public Accounts Committee, at that time, without the committee system, any legislation could not move forward. But that issue was resolved months ago. After that, we haven't seen that kind of legislation in the parliament. And today and yesterday, what we saw was quite a ruckus in the parliament where we saw opposition not cooperating at all. That opposition's attitude is quite visible and understandable, and one can realize that that bit of not making the law is explainable here. But when you talk about the reluctance in introducing new bills, that is a big question. Why didn't the government do anything about it? On the other side, of course, there are many important issues. There are issues regarding judicial reform in this country. The honorable courts have repeatedly mentioned it, but we haven't seen any momentum on that side either. Then there is the matter of economics. We saw, a couple of money bills, some treasury bills. And apart from that, we haven't seen that kind of momentum either. We have seen the change of leadership in the finance ministry. We will try to understand what it means for the country's economy as well. But let us start with the legislative business. And in order to help us understand these matters, we are joined by Mohammad Ibrahim Khan Sahab, who is an MNA of ruling party Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Shakil Rame Sahab, an economist, also Executive Director of Zalmay Foundation. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. My third guest is awaited. He is on his way. The moment he arrives, I'm going to introduce him as well. Ibrahim Sahab, I have to start with you, sir, and I have to ask you, what has kept the government from presenting new bills in the parliament?
Well, I think you have almost explained the main reasons. Initially, I mean, the committees weren't formed, and once the committees, the situation that got resolved, then for the last 1 month, you have seen there was no session.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we had an opportunity to meet with our law minister, and he is bringing in legislation for the judicial reforms and a few others.
When, sir?
It should be within this session. Those will be, inshallah, presented.
Only judicial reform. What about so many other issues that the country is facing right now?
Well, the other issues we are addressing, trying to address all the issues at the same time, because we have been left with an economy where everything is, and anything and everything is not in place.
Okay.
So it will take time, and 8 months are not enough. Just the other day I was
counting. But Parliament
counting.
doesn't do much about economy, does it? Only passing of the bills.
Passing of the bills, and the main hindrance is our institutions.
Okay.
For the past, so many governments, the institutions have been literally politicized, and due to that, the functioning of the government has deteriorated. And we are trying to bring in the laws and the enforcement of the laws that we can strengthen the institutions, because when the institutions are strong, only then the country can become strong, and economically, the economic viability is also directly related to all these issues.
Right. Ibrahim Sahab, before I go to Shakil Sahab, one question. We have been hearing a lot about Islamic presidential system. Where does it come from? Your party or elsewhere, this debate?
Basically, unfortunately in this country, we enjoy and believe more in rumors than the realities.
Okay.
We have a parliamentary form of system, and we are working on that, and there are certain issues where we have always been told you don't have the majority. I was in UK a couple of weeks back,
Right, sir.
on some Commonwealth seminar.
Okay.
And I have seen them, then where they get the hung parliament, where the issue is not resolved, they go to the people. And I think in our case, we should also adopt the same method in certain issues where there are very seriously, I mean.
Are you talking about fresh elections
No,
or referendum?
I'm talking about referendum, about certain subjects, about certain reforms.
Okay. Shakil Rame sahab, does it ring any bell? It is important.
Okay,
Yeah.
it is. Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
My stance is on judicial reforms, establishment of independent judicial commission,
Okay.
which should be not, none of those judges should be part of this, the present judges, and they should be independently only watching the decisions of the judiciary.
Yeah.
To make sure, and that was, I mean, I will quote again the example of Singapore, where
Ibrahim sahab,
Lee Kuan Yew
I'm going
yes.
to come into detail of these issues as well, but let me bring in Shakil Rame because I want to understand. Does it ring any bell? Because last time we were discussing about presidential system, one idea that kept on coming back was that there will be a referendum after which there might be a presidential system. What exactly is going on here?
I don't understand what is happening right now on this subject right now. So some people, they talk about presidential system, some talk about the parliamentarian system, some say like Islamic president system, some say parliamentarian president system. So
what is that?
So like that they have the parliament, but the president must be elected directly from the votes, and he can choose his cabinet and everything from there. So they are bringing together parliament, Islamic and the president together. The thing is, personally, you know that I am in favor of centralized system where the president should be elected. And
okay, but is it because the parliament has not been able to perform? That's why this debate is emanating right now. It is surfacing.
That is the fundamental issue. The fundamental, you can see the point which need more discussion. So why people are talking about the presidential system right now?
Right.
And they are confusing presidential system with the martial law.
Okay.
So when they talk about the president system, they start to talk about Ayub Khan, Musharraf, Ziaul Haq, and these are people.
Because that was the only time we had some semblance of presidential
system. I usually say that then the Mr. Musharraf, he nominated himself as chief executive of the country. So that was also one way or another way that happened in like that. So that is not the case. The presidential system, dictatorship, they're entirely different game.
Okay.
Because then the presidentship, and when you talk about the parliamentarian presidentship, you talk about the vote. Again, though you talk in the prime minister, when you have the prime minister elected from, you can say from assembly.
Okay.
So he is also elected. But in an indirect way. The president system would be the direct way when the people vote for their own choice. It is not like that. So then once the people vote for different parties, they come to the parliament and they choose according to their own benefits or their own interests.
No, but how is that going to fix the legislative part? Because the complaint is that parliament has been there. It has been reduced to a debating club and hardly any law has been passed there.
So that's what I mean. Look,
presidential system also has a
parliament system must be placed where the you are talking about the legislation. So definitely should be there. But the thing is, when they have their other interest, for me, maybe I'm 100% wrong. So for their own interest, they are more interested in getting the ministership or advisorship, the MNAs who has to do the business in the parliament. They are more interested to the power corridors where they can have the more access. They can be nominated from certain committees and certain advisory roles and the ministerships. But certainly it will again happen in the presidential system when the people will be going there. But they have the leverage, like that's the American system.
So why have this
like the American system, he has all powers to bring the reforms. For example,
but laws have to be passed by Congress.
But laws have to be passed by the Congress, but he has certain powers in the institutional management. For example, they gave the first 100-day agenda. He has to make thousands of the new assignments. But right now, if they have to make any assignment, they have to go to the parliament. For example, in the case of State Bank, the State Bank or the National Bank or the other SCCP, they have other covers. Like that you have to go to the parliament. But maybe in the presidential system when they come like the USA, he can nominate the people.
Right.
Yeah. But they can only go for the nominations and the debate on that, what he will be doing and what he will not be doing.
Right.
That is a certain thing. But the thing is, right now, it is not about our, you can say the only lawmaking. It's the attitude and behavior of our, you can
lawmakers?
Lawmakers. You can include everybody.
Okay.
It is not only lawmakers. It's also include the establishment, how they are promoting their own things. For example, other things like that. They are also, you always hear about the rumors like that they are interfering, they are interfering, they are interfering. Every party is saying like that. If everybody is saying like that, why they are not doing something to stop it? So
stop what?
The interference for the establishment.
People from actually saying that there is interference?
So if you look at the state,
in order to stop something, you have to first prove it is taking place.
Right, today, even today, the opposition party, they are saying that he is a selected Wazir-e-Azam.
So what?
So that's mean they are pointing finger towards something. They are not respecting their own institution.
Okay.
Tomorrow, if they would be in the power, so what would be their attitude?
So
rather than they can use this space.
Shakil Rahmi Sahab, how can establishment help in this?
Establishment, no. The parliamentarians have to help themselves.
Right.
Because if they think there is something happening, why they are not bringing some new bills or new motions or laws to curb it, rather than just to talk. Right now, what happened today in the parliament, it was quite unfortunate. Like that, if the it is not only the government, opposition is also representing the healthy number of people.
Right.
They also secure the vote at the name that they will work for the betterment of the country. They did not secure the vote at the name that they will be posing to the government.
It's a good argument. Let me bring in the third guest who has arrived. Barrister Masroor Shah Sahab, legal expert, also has a political introduction, but I'm not going to go into that. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. My question is about legislative business. For 8 months, this parliament has been there, especially the National Assembly. And in these 8 months, we haven't seen that kind of lawmaking taking place. Whose fault is it?
Definitely, it's the Treasury bench.
Okay, the government side.
The government, because the responsibility of steering the legislative agenda in the parliament rests with the government.
Okay.
Opposition, at best, it can utilize the private members' day, where members individually can introduce legislation, the bills, but hardly we have seen that they see the light of the day.
Okay.
Because they have to muster support from the Treasury benches because of the number game.
Yeah.
And then initially in the initial few months of the parliamentary year, we have seen when the present government came to power, I think deliberately it was perhaps a policy or what, or individual frolic of some ministers, they used to inflame the sentiments of the opposition.
But today it proved that even if you are not trying to inflame, the parliament is already inflamed.
Yes, because you see, the way the parliamentary business was carried in the early few months of the present government, naturally this is all the repercussion, the consequences of what legislative agenda and what was the strategy of the ruling party in the parliament itself. But by all means, we can never blame the opposition political parties for not coming up with good legislations, not coming up with good draft bills, because the responsibility always rests with the government. They have the number game. The Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs is with the government, and it is their job to, and the law ministry is there, it is their job to table the legislation. You see, okay, I understand that the behavior of some opposition parliamentary leaders or perhaps some members of the parliament may not be something that we can be proud of. But the question is that how many bills have been tabled by the government?
Okay.
You know, the government can't even count those the bills on its fingers.
I was talking
that
to
was
Ibrahim
a different
Sahab.
Question. Sorry, that was a different question if the government would have tabled the resolution, and because of the stiffness of the opposition, they could not see the light of the day. Right. But we have not seen any legislation, substantial legislation coming their way.
Barrister Sahab, before you arrived, I was asking exactly the same question, and Ibrahim Sahab, representing PTI, was telling us that in the first 4 or 5 months, it was Public Accounts Committee chairmanship issue. that actually held up the committee formation.
Who would have solved it? It is the government that had to solve.
Okay.
So the decision that it reached, it could have been reached in 2 days rather than 4 months.
Right.
So whose fault is it to waste so much precious time?
These are very legitimate questions.
And then the forget about legislation.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Imran Khan, when he took over power, even I think before he took the oath of the Prime Minister, he said that he will be accountable to the Parliament every Wednesday 3 p.m. following the British Convention. He would come and address the Parliament. He would face the question hour. I have not seen Prime Minister coming there for even a single day to...
Very important questions. 3 questions, sir. 1, why not laws? B, if you had to resolve PAC issue eventually the way you did, it could have been done earlier. 3, Prime Minister or Chief Executive being present and held accountable in the Parliament.
Sure. For the first one, we have not been, why didn't we do it earlier instead? Why it took us 5 months? We tried.
Actually 8 months. We are still counting.
No, we are, I'm talking about the PAC.
Oh, I thought you were talking about lawmaking.
No,
right?
no. I'm talking about the PAC, why we were in conflict. The reason was very clear. That the gentleman who finally made it as chairman of the committee is being accountable for different allegations, and under the, I mean, under any civilized democracy, people even don't like to take such offices because then a lot of questions arise from that. Instead,
but he
they
took
were
it and you
adamant,
gave it
and
to him.
I mean, he was not letting any legislative work come through or go through basically due to this very reason. And finally, we said, okay, if he's, not accepting the fact, not accepting the normal norms of democracy, and he just wants to have something to hold on to that he feels that can protect him, fine, he did that. Now coming to the second question. Legislation. He's absolutely right. This is our duty to table the
bills.
Yeah. We are in the process, I said, and 5 months that was those wasted, and then 1 month, last 1 month completely, there was no session. 6 months or 2 months time, but in the meantime, we are not saying that we were sleeping. Legislative work is in the progress, and I had a personal discussion with the, rather he came to the assembly in the last session, and he said there are a lot of...
the law minister.
Okay. And he explained that we are bringing in judicial reforms and so many other reforms. And since you know lawmaking is time, it takes a lot of time to, you know, the commas, the inverted commas, and there's a lot of time, it requires a lot of time.
But is it not the job of Parliament to fix those problems? Once a bill is floated, you correct it, right?
Yes, we do. So we ensure that that portion comes as minimize those
hiccups.
Right? Yeah. And that's why. But you will see in this
session,
running session, inshallah, we are tabling some legislative work and putting down the...
You're talking about judicial reform. And what about police reform, sir? Because that was also, I understand that Law and Justice Commission had come up with a bill, and that was very comprehensive, and it is waiting for the government to actually take into cognizance.
Sir, as I was explaining earlier, like all the institutions were politicized, except one institution, which only protected itself because they had bigger muscles. And they even tried to infiltrate into that in '99, and they got the results.
Okay.
Now, very simple, every other institution is literally gone rotten. It has to be, the reforms have to be brought in, and the restructuring is a must.
Okay. And for that you need laws. Sir, finally, Prime Minister in the Parliament.
Prime Minister in the Parliament. Okay, he did say that he tried to make good at it, and the very first day when he was trying to take, when he was taking the oath, the behavior of the National Assembly members from the opposition literally was abusive.
Okay.
And every other time when he has come to the Parliament, they have been abusive.
Okay.
They are desperate. Reason why they know what they have done and what's going to happen. It's like written on the wall.
You're talking about accountability.
I think everything is falling in the right place. I mean, and things are going in the right direction, and the progress is being made on those lines. So they have no interest in securing the assembly work or working for the national interest.
Okay.
The whole opposition is bent upon, sir.
No, they might have done whatever they did. PM had to come there, right?
Sir,
regardless.
Sir, they are bent upon only saving the two families.
Okay.
This Pakistan is for 220 million people, and
Right.
it does not, belong to just two families. If we can get out of that dilemma
Okay.
of two families and think about the 220 million people, I think things will start falling in the right
Then we are
place.
talking about too many ifs and buts, right? Shakil Rami Sahab, there is one explanation that has been given. There is another that keeps on coming back to us through the media and opposition, that maybe government's ministers or ministries or the treasury side was not that much prepared, and now they are actually doing their work as they go along. What is your take?
Look, it is not a, I don't think so, it's the true justification. So what, and a true depiction of the situation. Because the government is trying to do, first of all, they have the biggest challenge is the economy. Because the economy overshadow every other thing.
Okay.
So
you stopped doing everything else and you just
so
fixed
they
the
were full,
economy.
because there was so much pressure on economy. If they were not able to secure some funds from the friendly countries, maybe we would be going through the very difficult time. Whatever we're facing, we will maybe going through the more difficult times.
Yeah.
But however, I feel like that Asad Umar did a wonderful job. I believe it. I don't know what they did like that, because in economy we say there is a statement like that it is a necessary condition but not sufficient. So what IMF is telling to us, so they are talking about the 5 fundamentals of economy, but they are not talking about the revival of the economy by engaging agriculture, industry, services sector, other sectors. What Asad Umar was doing, he was trying to clear the mess on a sustainable basis, not just for like just to put the mess under the carpet.
Yeah.
The government has to, and the Prime Minister has to understand. So there is a hell of difference between building a home and whitewashing of a home.
Yeah.
So they were expecting whitewashing of the home, but Asad Umar was trying to do that, building the home.
Reconstructing the home.
Reconstructing the home, he was trying to that. And for that purpose,
No, I get it, but because my question was essentially about the parliament, right?
Yep.
How does Asad Umar's, experiments affect the legislative business? We have a speaker, the parliament is meeting, there are assemblies, there are members who are honorable members who participate. So why should it affect that?
Can you enlighten me on the subject? Was performance of Mr. Asad Umar debated in the parliament?
I don't know, I couldn't actually talk about that.
We have the parliamentarian with us.
Yeah.
Nobody debated it.
Okay.
Only oppositions continue to accuse him.
No,
but
Shakil Rami Sahab, with due respect,
As per
we
media
cannot.
reports in cabinet meetings also.
He
it
was
discussed.
criticized by a certain
that's what I'm
minister.
saying. So you need to understand the
No,
like
but why
that.
are we mixing policy with legislation?
No, look, from where the policies come?
From cabinet.
From the cabinet. And from where the legislation come? From the parliament.
Parliament.
From where they take the direction? From the cabinet, they develop the policy, and then they develop the legislation to make some certain changes.
It is other way around, right?
They make the certain changes. So that's what I'm saying. Was he given that chance to explain there? Was anybody there to debate the fundamentals of the economy or something like that? If they wanted to introduce something, for example, according to the...
But you're adding to the burden, not actually helping me understand.
No. If you allow me, then I can decode it a little bit.
Yep.
For example, he was introducing some reforms which ultimately have to come to the parliament.
Okay.
For first purpose, he was trying to introduce financial reforms. That would come with the budget, with the finance bill. So he did not get the time. I believe that he must be going too far there, because you need a time there. And other thing, if you talk about the government performance on the bills or something like that, new laws, that I don't see there is any movement, because there is an interest group. Either it's from the government side or it's from the opposition side. They are not interested for, to me, maybe I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like that they are interested to do some work which is beneficial for the common man. For example, today People's Party says,
they're not going to go back to the people.
Today People's Party say they will bring a bill for the NAB. They will not allow them to go for a torture or something like that. Good, they will not go for like that. But why they are hell bent on the NAB only? When they talk about every other reforms, they talk about the NAB. Every other reform they talk about the NAB. So why they are not talking about the pro-poor schemes? Why
no, but yeah, have you listened to me on Nawaz Sharif? He says that we have been through it already. Now let other people suffer. We don't want NAB law to change, right? So that is also a perspective.
That is the question. You have to prioritize your business. It is not about only the government. Okay, government has a more responsibility.
Yeah, but
I feel it's a responsibility of every parliamentarian. As said, how many votes PTI got?
Yeah, it got the highest.
Highest, but not all the votes.
Yeah.
If you calculate the opposition votes, they will be equal to like that. If you combine all the opposition votes, maybe more than that.
Right.
So they all have the responsibility.
No, this is what we are trying to take stock of. What went wrong? Why that responsibility by Barrister Saab was not visible? Because with due respect, there are two things. In Pakistan, there are 2 or 3 cases that continue. One case is against democracy. One is against parliamentary system of democracy. And there are people who think that these things are not going to actually deliver. And today it seems that they are winning the argument.
You see, I think no system is good or bad.
Okay.
It is the people who run those systems, they matter. We have seen Westminster style of democracy doing very well in UK for centuries. We have seen presidential system. It has yielded good results in USA. I mean, it's working. And we have tried, fortunately, both these systems in our country. And none of them seemed to work. So that's a different debate altogether. But the dilemma with PTI is, I guess, that when they were in opposition, they were blaming government for all the evils in the country.
Okay.
And now that they are in the government, they are still blaming opposition for all the evils that are happening in the country.
We have to.
So yes, so that's a dilemma.
No, but
and now one
that
thing that Honourable Member of Parliament, he said that the reason we took so long to persuade ourselves to appoint Shahbaz Sharif as the chairman of the PSC was because there was some NAB inquiry against him.
Yeah.
Right? That was the case. Fair enough. But then there is a NAB inquiry against PTI, chairman of Public Account Committee in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So what was the rationale of appointing him as chairman of PSC? So that argument, I don't think so. That's a very valid argument, or anyone would buy that.
Okay.
Because we have to treat apples with apples and oranges orange. If that was a principal stance, then
but
it should not have been
problem.
adopted in PTI. And then one more thing.
Yeah.
The blame that since Parliament cannot legislate because the buff has been passed on the opposition, they make a lot of hue and cry, they raise slogans, they thumb desks, fair enough. But then what was the PTI doing in the last tenure of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif? What to talk of making rumpus in the House? They even led that dharna, which was termed as Supreme Court of Pakistan as useless, futile exercise, and Supreme Court demanded from PTI to render an apology to the nation. And that disrupted the business, not only the legislative business, but it also disrupted the executive functions of the government.
Ibrahim Sahab, your answer. Many arguments.
I mean, exactly, I would take his words that we should not mix apple and oranges together. To start it with, he mentioned the example of the KPK gentleman for PSC and the one from here. He was made a member of PSC when he was under detention.
Okay.
Okay. Where when our ministers, any of them was even under the allegation, they went and resigned.
Yeah.
No, he's still there.
And
so check your facts.
No,
Inquiry is still
PAC
going
chairman is still there.
Yeah, PAC chairman.
But he's
is
not
still
arrested.
there, he has not been arrested.
The inquiry,
If
the
he-
allegation is the same.
No,
allegation of corruption
arrested.
on him as well.
Sir,
and that's why opposition is saying that our guys are arrested and their guys are not arrested.
Please, Ibrahim Sahib, go ahead.
Please
Yes,
go ahead. Go ahead.
The reason is that allegations is step one, investigation. Step two, proven is the arrest. Part three. He was in part three. He was arrested.
No,
let
Shehbaz
me
Sharif was
correct
not
it. No. It's still an
convicted.
inquiry.
So
You
not,
see-
not
no,
convicted.
let
I'm
me
not
correct.
calling convicted.
Yeah.
I'm not calling convicted. All the proofs were on the table, and all the
No.
proofs.
Otherwise,
that-
High
that-
Court would not have granted bail. High Court said
High
it was.
High Court is granting bail. This is why I'm saying we need a legislative.
That the
I
bail
mean, we
should not
need-
be- yes,
no,
this-
sir.
this
That's why
attempt was
I'm
made.
saying that we need in this country.
Sir.
We need to start it with as early. I mean, the Barrister
Before
Saab
his
was
arrival,
not here.
yeah.
We need to start our judicial reforms. That is the main first thing.
Okay.
I have nowhere in the world you can find an example that bails are granted to people on
Corruption charges?
oh no, not corruption charges, granted on Saturdays when the court is
No,
closed.
When court can convict a person at midnight on Saturday, why not
Yeah,
grant a
that
bail?
he has the, I mean, do whatever they want. But I'm saying that here, I would mention here a story of an old time when they used to hold those melas in the villages.
Yeah.
And there'll be this very popular at that time. Now it's declared as against the animal rights or the whatever you call it.
Okay.
The bear and the dogs.
Yeah.
And the bear was put a nail through his nose,
yeah.
so that just in case a dog's come direct under his attack,
He
he
can
has
be
the
pulled back.
capability to crush it, so he could be pulled back.
Okay.
Here, what I'm seeing is, on one hand, some institutions which are independent, they're trying to nab the person. On the other hand, the other institution, the nail pullers, grant them the bail.
No,
Your
with
words,
due
what are
respect,
you
this is
saying?
very...
What is he saying?
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
what I'm saying is, for the last 10 years, if you look at the number of judges inducted
Yeah.
with the political affiliation,
Oh, let me correct him.
Okay.
Let me correct
Okay.
him.
Sir,
do you
for
know
that I'll have to go
yes,
there.
yes.
Yeah, please.
Sir,
go
do you know what the procedure of inducting the High Court judges? The procedure is that it's not a political appointment anymore after 18th,
After 18th
19th
amendment, yeah.
in fact 19th amendment.
Yeah.
Now the chief
18
justice,
and 19th.
19th because the
they pick
clarity
and
was
choose
given.
where they want to choose that it is the procedure.
No.
Sir,
May I
procedure
request
is
you,
one
sir?
No,
thing,
I'll explain.
procedure
Just
is
the
one
judges,
thing, but
the
the
Chief
way-
Justice of the relevant High Court recommends the name of a senior lawyer,
Yeah.
or in the bar or from the session courts,
Yeah.
and
We
then
have
that
also
name is
seen
argued in
No,
the
no, but,
Chief Justice
committee-
of Lahore being given instructions on the phone, grant
That
him a
was
7
passed,
No,
sir.
that was
Sir,
passed.
that is not
But
passed.
sir,
That is
then
still
your
in
leader
practice.
also been
Sir,
calling for
Ibrahim Sahib,
practice.
Ibrahim Sahib.
Let's
Sir, it is
not,
still
you
in
see, just
practice.
because the court has granted bail to opposition leader, don't malign the judiciary.
Yeah.
It is the same judiciary when it convicted Nawaz
And
Sharif,
might I
you were
request
raising
also,
slogans.
let us actually move on, because judiciary is
Exactly.
one aspect that has been,
And
debated
you see,
a lot
the
on
courts
television.
are always there to safeguard the fundamental rights
Rights of people, yeah.
Whether it's Saturday or Sunday, a High Court judge is a constitutional
But
judge.
Shehbaz Sahib was convicted at that time, or was he,
No.
was he indicted or not?
Who?
Shehbaz Sharif, when he
Hamza
was
Shahbaz?
granted. No,
Hamza
Shehbaz-
Shahbaz.
yeah.
No, he's referring to Hamza
Okay,
Shahbaz
okay,
bail on
okay,
Saturday.
okay.
You see, even in murder
Sir, you
cases, even
cannot
in
apply for
terrorism cases, the courts look at the merit, and as per the reports, the NAB was asked several times,
Yeah.
what evidence do you have against Hamza Shahbaz?
Yeah.
They couldn't satisfy, they granted him bail. Please don't malign the judiciary in your
but
political
let us
debate.
move on,
Yes.
because
and
nobody,
then one
I'm
more
sure,
thing other than
nobody
judiciary.
has the intention.
Of course not. Now, other thing is that, you see, again, you were saying I'm no fan of Shehbaz Sharif. Patafi knows I have been a hardened
Very,
critique
big
of the
critic, yeah.
government also. And when they were in government, I used
Yeah.
to criticize them. But the thing is that if that is your argument that Shahbaz Sharif, there was an inquiry against Shahbaz Sharif and he should have resigned in a civilized world, then there's an inquiry against your own Prime Minister, inquiry against your own ministers, and they are still enjoying the cabinet berth. So please don't adopt an argument which is not
Inquiry
applicable.
against the Prime Minister?
No, he's talking about
Yeah,
helicopter case, right?
yes.
It is barely an inquiry, right?
But it is an inquiry. There is no yardstick. An inquiry is an
Tomatoes,
inquiry, whether it's
apples.
of 1 rupee,
Give
whether
me
it's
a
of 1 rupee
break.
or 100 rupee.
Apples and oranges.
Inquiry is inquiry.
Okay,
So,
okay, but
so change the NAB law that okay, if you ride a government helicopter, that would not be an
Okay,
offence.
let us come back
Otherwise,
to-
they'll be offensive.
let us come
and
back
the
to the-
ministers, there are ministers against whom there are allegations of billions of rupees,
Right.
and they are still enjoying. And I agree with that because NAB inquiry is very preliminary stage. I'm not, by using this argument, not saying that the minister should resign. There are inquiries, some of them may proceed to investigation, go to the court, some of them may not
okay,
proceed further.
I have one question for Ibrahim Saab, and then I have to go to Shakil Drame Saab, who is very quietly waiting for his turn.
No,
But,
I'm enjoying the situation.
Ibrahim Saab, the question is about legislation, and we started from there. Is there a realization within your party that while you have done a lot in policy sphere, you haven't been able to pass as many laws or at least table as many laws as were needed?
Sir, without the laws and strict implementation of the laws,
Sir.
that is imperative. We do realize that. That's why we are in the process of tabling those bills. We will do that, and I'm not talking about in 6 months' time. I just say you will start seeing the beginning of it from this
In this session?
this
Yes.
session. But what I am saying is there is so much of mess that we have to clean up in all the institutions. Okay, and so we have to, as our brother next to me, Shakil Saab, was saying, that the economy was literally in the ICU. And you are saying, okay, where are your muscles? And
Is
show
it out
me
of
your
ICU,
strength.
sir? Is it out of
Sir,
ICU?
it is still in the ICU, but the heartbeat is getting better and better and better. Honest to God.
Okay.
And,
Let me go back to Shakil Saab.
And I tell you what, I really second him on that he did a wonderful job. He was taking steps which for the longer term, I mean on long-term basis, for the betterment of the country.
All right.
He did, but does not mean changing him means he did not deliver, or he was dysfunctional, or he did not do well.
No, actually it
There
means
is-
exactly that.
No, sir. This means if you have the leadership decides you have a better choice,
is a very
who can
difficult
do
job
better. No, sir.
Actually, I have a very difficult job right now, but
Okay.
let me go to
But
Shakil
if
Saab.
the
Allow me.
leadership decides that you have to go for the
Prime Minister himself
better
said
choice,
that those
this
who
is
are,
his prerogative.
those whose services would not be beneficial for Pakistan would not remain in the cabinet.
Yeah, but
So
that-
yesterday, Bilawal was saying the changing of, Asad Umar, he was made so much of a hue and cry. At the same time, I reminded him that you change in your 5 years. You
They
change
were from
your
old
5,
Pakistan. They were
no,
failures.
but
They
the
were
irony.
failures.
No.
If People Party's performance is the yardstick of success for PTI.
No, I'm
No,
saying
no,
they
but,
do not have the
if
right
they have
to
done something
point
wrong-
finger at us.
Judge a man by his own words, and Bilawal kept on demanding Asad Umar resign. And when he did, he congratulated the nation. And now he says why.
That 1 wicket is gone.
Yeah.
They should.
And,
Shakil
they
Saab.
changed 5 finance ministers.
Right, sir.
Yes.
I'm told that we are left with 4 or 5 minutes, so you can make the whatever you want to of this time. Shakil Drame Saab, is the economy out of ICU?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And the thing is that so you have initial stabilizers, so which are helping now.
I'm asking this because I watch I have the misfortune of watching some of the Indian channels, and they have this indecent, habit of celebrating whenever they think that Pakistan might be suffering.
No,
So is Pakistan suffering now, or is it getting better?
No, they are enjoying. They are trying to celebrate anything. Even they are trying to give the gallantry awards to its Abhinandan. So leave it aside in the context of the Pakistan.
That is another thing.
So leave it aside. So
programs these days are predicting and celebrating that Pakistan soon is going to be bankrupt.
No, it is not the case if the government continue Asad Umar policies, because he did two things. One, he started to tackle the short-term issues of urgent payments. Second, his methodology was very good if the government is trying to. He was trying to include Pakistan in the supply chain trade.
Okay.
Because at this point of the time, most of the 80% trade is being happened to the supply chains. He was negotiating with the China, make Pakistan part of some supply chains of your established brands, because they are not making every you can say the part of everything. Okay. So they are importing some part. For example,
but SEZs and all that.
I am coming back.
Was it not?
I am coming back. I am coming back. So one was that this is the very best way to boost your export, because the brand he was talking about, they are already well established. You don't have to make any type of marketing, because just have to provide it. One thing, and second thing, it was good for the SMEs. Because the instrument, the small, you can say the instruments, they are being made by the SMEs, they can be part of that. And second was the industrial cooperation. They have signed an MOU. They were working on the nitty-gritties on that, what they want to do. There is no time, otherwise they can explain that.
Yeah.
Now it depends what is the focus of the government. I only remember one word from his long press conference. He said, pray for that the next man who come in the power, the government must show some patience and support him.
Okay.
Because that is a fundamental, because the reform are the
government didn't show patience?
Didn't
support him?
I'm just quoting the words. The words. So you got the
just
message.
Quoting or misquoting? I'm sorry. What did you say?
They're quoting. Yes,
quoting.
I see it. So he said, so the thing is, as Ibrahim said, as all the party of PTI is saying like that, economy was very bad. And keep in mind, economy does not come to this point in within 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It takes time. And it not recover in 1 or 2 years. It take time. But they did not understand. And they gave a chance to the opposition and even to India to celebrate that. So our economy is not doing good. Because it is a time you to talk about the real things what you need to fix. It is not a time like that you just go, oh, I did. Ultimately, you have to pay the loans. It is not a good idea that go to the MIF straightway and get the loan and say like, oh, I made it. Yeah, this is like that.
So you agree with the previous finance minister's choice?
Yes, I agree. Like it is like that. What Mr. Ghalib said, पीते थे कर्ज की मैं और समझते थे.
Yeah, but मैं अभी भी
again the strategy
is still borrowed. Remember,
and it is still maybe we are going back to the old strategy.
Right. Let us hope that in coming days we see some improvement. I'm told that we have done short of time. Barrister Masroor Saab, thank you very much, sir, for your time. Shakil Rame Saab, thank you very much. Ibrahim Khan Saab, thank you very much for your time as well. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. The debate about legislative business is very close to my heart, because I think that whenever you are trying to fix a policy or you are trying to fix any institution in a country, first you have to go and improve the quality of the law that exists. And in this country where we made do with most of the laws that were left behind by the British 100 years ago, for example, CRPC, PPC, others, I think the parliament has to be really functional and very, very proactive. Let us hope in coming days we see that. Rest of the debate will continue, but one has to keep looking at what the parliament is doing. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.